Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NRG series. We're about to jump into round number 3 of 8. Modern is the format of today's choice. But first, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Mo. I'm Will Hall. That is Corbin Hustler. And we are very happy that you're all here because I'm not going to lie to you, Corbin. This is my favorite format to cover.
Yeah, same. Modern is where I sort of made my my mark in the Magic content
Oh,
world
yeah. Mining
originally.
Modern, my friend. I loved the Mining Modern back in the day. It was sick. But maybe some people out there want to jump through some of the the events that are going to
Mhm.
happen in potentially your area, or maybe you want to travel to them. So let's have a little look at some future events that we've got coming up here at the NRG series. Talk me through it.
That's right. If you want to get out and play like we do, Will loves. In fact, I love playing Merfolk. We love Modern. That's the point. A lot of people do. If you want to get out and play some of that, you can do so. September 14th and 15th in Louisville. There's a 10K Modern Showdown coming on Saturday and a 5K standard trial on Sunday. And of course, all the side events you could ever want. If you are around Louisville in the middle of September, the 14th and 15th of September, that is $10,000 you can win playing what will be possibly a refreshed modern format. A
Fingers
lot to look forward
crossed.
to.
It's
Yeah,
also a showdown, right? So showdowns are the ones that qualify us for the end of year tournament.
that's right.
These are the points that we want to get on the board. It's pretty sick. But we've got another place that we're going to after Louisville.
That's right. After that, you can do the same. You can run back 10K Modern Showdown into Indianapolis November 2nd and the 3rd, I believe, Saturday and Sunday. 10K Modern Showdown and followed by Pioneer 5K on Sunday. So whether you are into standard, modern, Pioneer, even legacy with the team trios that we have coming up tomorrow, NRG Championship will give you a chance to play them. We've got Louisville and Indianapolis coming up after our stint here in Madison, where we have 177 players battling it out in this modern event.
I'm really interested to see what happens to Pioneer on Monday. Like, I feel like everyone's got a lot of eyes on Modern, but I'm really interested to
Yeah.
see if anything does happen in Pioneer. But we've got some players to watch. People that turned up this weekend to battle it out, to try and get themselves on the leaderboard, to try and take it down. These are some of the names that we are following here. Look like Al Jazz, we saw in round 1, picked up a loss, took that draw. We've got BBD in the
One and
house, ladies
only.
and gentlemen, and starting off at 2-0, and is actually going to be our feature match this round. I'm not going to tell you what deck they're on because I don't want to, spoil the surprise. Dom Harvey, we just seen him take it down. Sean Gallagher's going 1-1. And there's also a sealed event happening as well, and concurrent to the modern that's happening. And we see Zoe playing in that one, and is currently 1-up in that. So pretty sick to see a lot of players on the leaderboard in here as well, and a lot of players trying to get themselves on that leaderboard and get to the end of the year. 35K invite only. I could only dream of going to such an event because, as you mentioned, I only play Infect, and it doesn't go it doesn't get us to those big ones, but we have fun along the way while we do it. So, as I mentioned, BBD, our main feature match. BBD is on the bird, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry about that. Look, it is what it is. The best players get gravitated towards the best decks, and he's starting off with a Shuko. But this deck, Rakdos Tempo, you think, oh, it's just energy. No, no, no. This deck is spicy, ladies and gentlemen. This plays a lot like the old sort of grief decks when the Fury was around a little bit. We've
Yeah.
got Ragavans, we've got Cruxes, we've got Voidwalkers, we've got Nevergoyfs, we've got Dragon Race Chandlers, we've got Abrap. There's a lot going on this deck to break down, and I'm all here for it, especially at 2-0 and going up against one of my personal favorite players ever in the world in BBD.
This is a heck of a matchup. On the one hand, you have a former world champion playing the best deck in the format. On the other, you have, I'm just going to say, not a world champion playing not the best deck in the
Yet,
format.
yes.
You have them playing the card Sign in Blood, and they're both 2-0 in this modern tournament. I love that.
How did I miss the Signing Bloods when I was reading that deck list out? That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
sick.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
this.
This is amazing.
We do see a wall of roots though, blocking and killing Ragavan, which last pre MH3, this was the talk of the town. This card's too good. It's a 1-drop. Blah blah blah. Now it barely even sees any play. There's better 1-drops in the format.
Yeah.
But we're going to go up the board. Now we know what's going on the other side of the battlefield. Let's get down this Tuco. Every land is going to generate a 1/1 insect token, and fetch lands really good at doing that because it can generate 2. And then we can make one of them a 2/1 as well if we need to.
Yeah, this is a pretty great start over here for BBD. Having the Shuko and the Nantuko, obviously both just powerful pieces, but also having access to that saga. There's just kind of a lot going on over there value wise, and maybe doesn't get much more value than the Ragavan that Craig had, unless it's a Surveil land. I guess that might be more value, to be honest. Both players
Yeah.
have them in play, but just kind of immediately Craig falling, losing the dice roll and just kind of falling behind the eight ball a little bit.
There's a lot of disruption in this deck. Kind of what you would think there is. There's removal. There's discard effects. There's lots of cheap creatures that can also generate us extra value. There's ways to draw cards.
Yeah.
Can we deploy any of that? As Swamp is the first start. Then we're going to go Dragon Rage Channeler.
Okay.
Love a Dragon Rage Channeler. Bauble. That's going to be the third card type in the graveyard. And Raptor. We left the card on top, remember?
Okay.
2 energy.
Thoughtseize.
Double.
Oh, well, wow. Well, now things are. First of all, that was a sweet turn by Craig. That's not, you don't necessarily want your Dragon Rage channelers and your baubles to be coming out on turn 3 or 4 or whatever, but it could be worse when your Thoughtseize shows 2 lands and your opponent's just on Shuko beatdown. Maybe there's something here. Looks like a pretty decent one off the top for BBD. Gave it a little bit.
Yeah,
of
I think it was.
shake there. Yeah.
I think that was a bristly bill off the top. So whenever a land comes into the battlefield, it can get a +1/+1 count on target creature. For 5 mana, you can double all creatures on each creature. I think that was what was drawn. My eyes might deceive me. I'm getting older these days, but I think that was a draw. But this is going to be the line. We're going to make ourselves a construct. Look at that pile of tokens. Just like, come on. I know BBD didn't bring them. That's not his personal collection. That's definitely NRG's.
NRG table crew holding it down, by the way. Just
Always
having the tokens is clutch. Imagine if we had people throwing out their, not their custom tokens. Those would be fine, of course, but just, whatever random thing they had next to them at the table when you're going through these Nadu things, you got to come prepared.
Dude, we got shout at the production crew. Like, we get to be like nice. We get to be the faces of this, take the credit for it. But there's more. I promise you, we do the minimum amount of work out of everybody to get this coverage going. Like, there's so many people behind the scenes that do so much good stuff out there. And we, if anyway, we need to appreciate them a lot more, protect them at all costs. So, shout out to Norman and the team for putting on these amazing events. We're going to equip the construct. So it's going to be a 4/3 now because there's 3 artifacts on the battlefield. Doing a good job at coming up the battlefield here for BBD.
Yeah, I guess if you're not going to combo, then this is where you want to be. You're at 19 life against the Rakdos deck. It's playing another amped Raptor to the sign in blood.
Oh, sign me up. Let's go. Okay, so at Raptor off the Arena of Glory card, I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. It would probably work really nicely with a Croxer. That's going to flip the Amp Raptor. 2 more energy generated. That's going to flip Sign in Blood. Cash's energy in. We're going to do 2 damage to ourselves. We're going to go 2 more cards deeper into our deck. I'm sold. I'm sold. Let's go. You're the hero we need, Craig. You're the hero we need. Inquisition is going to hit the Grizzly Bill, leaving BBD with 1 card left in hand, and it is a land. The last card is going to be a Ragavan, getting there for 3 points of damage and pass a turnover. Is this going to be Surveil landing to Nadu after all that hard work and those cool lines of play?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess as different as it might seem, I guess, to see some of those cards played in this particular order, Craig is now left with a board that is growing wider. BBD has tokens. Excuse me.
And they've got, these tokens, they're not great in the face of the first strikers, right? 2/1s. But
yeah, he's just got chump blocks to survive, right? And he's just trying to find a way to win the game and advance his own board. And the Surveil land is pretty clutch for that. It allows him to bin a card here and dig. But the window,
oh come on,
the window was wide open for Craig, but bird flew in the window.
Oh, it's just, I'm not even gonna worry. And that's game.
He picked his cards up before that bird even hit the battlefield.
By Craig, it was awesome to see. But the fun please came knocking, and it's in the shape of a 3/4 flying bird. We tried. We had a hero. He was there, and
Imagine
Anyway,
imagine being a player who really likes to perform the Nadu combo and you never get to. He picked his cards up before that Nadu even hit the
yeah,
battlefield. Okay,
he's like,
that's
I'm
good
not
for
letting you do
seeding.
this to me, not on camera. It's cool. We'll all feel like that. But, luckily we can potentially get the deck lists on screen. Let's not worry about BDD's deck. We don't want to worry about that. Let's not talk
That's
about
right.
the bird. Let's talk about this masterpiece, this beauty that we
Yeah, this
have
is great.
on the play. One card I want to point out, and I think chat picked up on this earlier, is the Dalfy Voidwalkers.
Yeah.
Now, online when you play Nadu, you play Oracle, fastest Oracle, because it's a gazillion clicks to do
Right.
the loop. In paper, you just have to demonstrate the loop. So a lot of people don't play the fastest Oracle line. So if they're going to demonstrate the loop, which involves exiling, reshuffling their graveyard into their deck to get the loop going, Dalfy is not a bad shout in that. It stops it.
Yeah, and it's also a card that interacts with other wide swaths of the format, right? Any graveyard deck, but also like dedicated graveyard decks, say Living In, which is a deck that still exists. It's a very powerful card to have access to, period. And that's kind of what you see, like we're calling this Rakdos tempo or whatever. It's almost Rakdos hate bears, right? You got just like small value creatures that interact with your opponents or advance your own game plan, and then you have a pile of removal and I guess sign in bloods. But they've once you've emptied your hand and your opponent's hand, which is the goal here with something like this, you really just need to reload. And it's a sign in blood is a reload that you can hit off of Amp Raptor.
Shout out to Villa in chat. I think you've just won Twitch today. This is basically Lureless Lurus. Like everything's under 2 before we get to that sideboard. The sideboard though does have some spicy ones. We've got Blood Moons, we've got Magus of the Moons. Are they going to take effect? In my opinion, playing a lot of Boros, this has been one of the better cards I've played again going against Nadu, is being able to Blood Moon them early. And if you can turn one Ragavan, turn 2 Blood Moon, maybe that would be enough to get through. We've got some more removal. We've got some more graveyard hate. I don't think this is the matchup for Trinisphere. But is there anything I'm missing here? Anything you think that's not good in this matchup that potentially Craig would not want to play in game 2 and maybe 3?
Yeah, I imagine he can kind of like just trim along the edges, right? Whether or not he feels strongly about, Croxas versus Amped Raptors versus Dalthy, like the numbers he can trim on, right? To try to get the extra cards in there, to just slow him down. Because this deck is going to do a great job. And we saw that game, BBD had to, just like the game before, where they needed to draw out of it. He was able to draw out of it, but he needed to. And that's what the Rakdos deck can do, is put the pressure on you and attack your hand in such a way to make you draw out of it in top deck, as the Thoughtseize decks typically like to do. The Amped Raptor is a nice sort of, iteration to this deck that gives it a little bit more staying power along with those sign in bloods. So yeah, once we hit the sideboard here, and you obviously Craig is ready for the Nadu matchup. He knows what he's up against. He knows how to play this deck against it. We'll see how he tries to interact. Inquisition is actually
BBD
a pretty
kept
reasonable
one of
start.
the slowest hands I've ever seen. He's on the draw, kept the Surveil land as his only land, 3 mana dorks. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we don't hit land, hit him soon. If that was a turn 1 Ragavan, this is a different game. Don't worry about it. We drew a Yavimars.
Well, that's a man who knows that his hand is going to get torn apart, and that all you need are redundant spells, because the cards in your opening hand, I'm not going to say they're irrelevant, but you can maybe count on casting 5 of the 7 spells you see or whatever, right? By the time this deck is done with you. And that's what he had in mind there, I think, is, okay, well, this is slow, but it's got a lot of copies of the cards I need. It's as resilient as Thoughtseize as you can possibly get. And as we see now, he's been double Thoughtseized.
Fourth season. Now we can actually look at the hand. Take the Nadu here. Would love something like a surgical follow-up, but does not have it. Not in the 75. Drew another land. Look, this is why you keep one-landers, because you're just drawing them off the top. This is what makes world champions. You know what I mean? This is how it goes.
That's right. He just tapped off the deck. But also he had the mana dorks, right? So he had the Surveil land. And he was on the draw. So he had 3 shots at finding a land there, right? And he was able to find it. And now he plays the game. But very quickly, then the double Thoughtseize is now taking away his Bristly Build, it's taking away his Nadu. He's got a Shuko and mana, and that's it. He's got Shuko and mana. So he doesn't have tutors. He doesn't have Nadu. He's just kind of spinning his wheels right now, and has just got to find something. Now, we'll see. Craig with a big grin there on his draw. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but this game has progressed in a way such that Craig has it where it wants it. Now he just needs to try to turn the corner while he has a window Amped into DRC is a pretty good way of doing it.
Yeah, that's the way of apply pressure. Ideally, you'd like to do it the other way around, right? Like apply the pressure, then have the discard, take the key cards. But we do what we must in this situation. We do not have Delirium just yet. That's double sorcery, instant enchantment, one fetch land away. But I think Craig's missing lands, and that's why it gave him kind of the awkward turn. Decided to go with the 2-drop in Raptor when we had the option of going, potentially removal spell into a Nevergoyf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a wall of roots, and take that however you like, but there's definitely a wall of roots going on the battlefield right now. That might be the best pun I've ever said in casting, and it wasn't even that great, but I think that was amazing. I'm so happy with myself.
So I'm happy for you.
Look, it's all about having fun while we cast even Nadu.
There is a wall of roots, that is for sure. And if you are Craig, the only way to break through this wall is to try to fly over it, I think, with the DRC.
Navigate. Okay, there's the Dalfi, though. So Dalfi into Nevergrove. Remember, Dalfi has Shadow mechanic. We don't see too much, but calling off the top.
What a draw.
It just hurts. It just hurts. like, you know, those memes is like, I just can't compete. Like, this is float 3 mana, tap 3 creatures, leave 3 mana up. Craig's just smiling at this point. It's like, cool.
Look.
Chord. Wonder what you could get for free. It is exiled, though. It is exiled. Remember, this loop is kind of semi-stop, but there's lots of ways to keep it going. We could just generate a huge board and turn it sideways. We've got things like Otawara. We can use Otawara to bounce it. We can also, remember, steal it with the Storm Drake. So that's what I mean. There's lots of, this seems like a good card in the matchup. Is quite good in some situations, but right now it's not the do-all, end-all. We've got lots of ways to kind of turn and burn through our deck to get there. Yeah, Craig just scooping it up. Like, Craig, I appreciate you bringing this deck, dude. It's a cool deck. It was lots of fun to see. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see too much of it. Looks like the Blood Moons did come in, but luckily,
that is the state of Modern, though, right? Because he had everything he wanted to try to interact, and the deck sometimes you just find it off the top, and the combo is just you get Splinter Twinned out of the game, essentially, right?
Okay.
It's kind of what it feels like.
Why if I tell you no more Nadu this round on camera? Would that make you feel happy? This round. Just this round. I don't have the power to say every round, but just this round.
I'll accept it for this round, provided you have something great for me.
I got something great for you. No one else. No one watching in Twitch chat. Just for you. This is for you. Our backup feature match consists of. It's going to be Boros Energy. That's cool. That's kind of my deck at the moment in a minute. But it's going to go up against Merfolk. Ooh. And I know there you go. You see the smile changing your face there? Look, Merfolk is Boros Energy. And I played this matchup the last weekend in an RCQ that I played in. It wasn't close. That's what I'm going to say. There's a lot of removal spells in this Boros deck, and if they can get them going far enough, it's going to be an uphill battle. But Merfolk, we know, has got the tools. We've seen Nikachu take down many tournaments. We've seen you absolutely crushing it. You're a huge ambassador for this deck. Let's see if we can get down to that matchup and see how it's going to pan out. Maybe our main feature match went too quickly. We haven't got it set up yet.
Well, yeah, but hopefully we'll get to check it out because, Fish.
I'm being told we're going to have to interview a world champion first before we can get down to it. But
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's great. All right, let us know, chat. If you've got any questions for BBD, you've got probably like a minute to get them in the chat for me to ask them to BBD. But we will be having an interview with him. And let's be honest, I'm about to live my little fanboy moment here because I'm a big fan of BBD and I love everything that he's done.
I'm thrilled that we got BBD in this tournament and we got to watch it play. Now,
that just shows the caliber of these, right? Like, there's so many good players in the room. We've seen Dom Harvey. We've seen Ale Ojazi. Now we're seeing BBD. This just hit after hit after hit of the players turning up to these tournaments, trying to take them down. That's what the RC means now. Getting to the RC. And, of course, we're sending players from this event to that RC. And then the biggest cherry on top is there's an end-of-year event that everybody's trying to get to as well. I'm so jealous being on this side of the pond. It is unreal. Like, I just want to, can I fly across and try to spike one of these events or something? I want to come across. I want to meet all the cool people there, hang out, and just live the NRG experience. The closer I get, I got this cool shirt, which it's not
you're halfway there. I need to get a shirt You need to get to the States. We both need to get
a team
hang out
event.
to a show together. That's the trick here.
Team event, me, you, and Doomweek. Done. You know what I mean? All sat there, coverage shirts on, but not in coverage. Not in the booth, just sit there. Which seat would you be on, though? Like, you know what I mean?
A little. Well, I think I'd play a little merfolk. And the beauty of it is it doesn't matter what seat.
Okay, so you can play standard. That's fine. We'll get. In fact, no, I think Doomweek would like to play standard. I think Doom would like standard. I feel like Merfolk's probably most playable in modern, so that means I would have to jump in the legacy seat. And as bad as it is, I'll just play Infect in legacy. That's fine.
So you just play Infect. You're set. We're set.
Orcish Bowmaster's not a card. I don't have to worry about it. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. Dude, we got the easies from Doom in chat as well, so that's gonna be sick. Right. It looks like ready. We have got none other than a world champion sat down ready for this interview. And it is Mr. BBD. How you doing, dude? You're talking to Corbin, you're talking to Will. Congrats on winning that game.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It was
yeah.
Obviously, we know about the bird, right? We know that this card is good. We know this deck is good. It's I've been comparing it to like the Hodak deck and how dominant that was and how good that was. Except for this one doesn't have any bad matchups really. This one can still just like win out of nowhere. Even if I'm trying to kill you on Nadu, I can just trigger and make you win the combo. Where do you put this on scale of all-time decks that you've played? Because you've played a lot of them, over the years. Where would you put this on power level of decks that you've played?
Pretty high.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I honestly, I don't know. I haven't thought too much about that. I would, it's probably on level of Hogak. Maybe it's probably a little bit even better than Hogak, but it's probably not that far off. I mean, I played a lot during the Hogak era, and I was like a not playing Hogak kind of player. Like I was playing Urza, and when I played in that Hogak Pro Tour, I was playing Urza, and I had like Leyline of the Void and all these cards, and it was actually, I think, a slightly favorable matchup for me, and I won a lot in that tournament against it. And then, like 2 weeks later, I was playing in an SCG Open, and I was losing every time to Hogak, and like same thing, like 2 weeks later, I'm playing in these tournaments, and Hogak's now beating me. So the deck evolved from that Pro Tour and got better and better and better. And I kind of think the same thing is probably true for Nadu as well, where like people's lists have all kinds of random cards, and it's certainly not optimized. I know for sure mine isn't because I don't know what I'm doing, but
it doesn't matter when you still win though, right? Like you just, I've got Nadu off the top. GG's.
Yeah,
it's got to feel good, right?
Bird off the top.
Corbin, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that match, BBD. Specifically, that second game, the hand you kept, right? We were talking about how it was very slow with the surveil land and the creatures, but how the matchup might influence that. What was the thought process as you're playing a deck like that and, you're deciding what a good opening hand looks like? What was going through your mind in that one?
So, my hand was really slow. Turn one was I'm just playing that surveil land. But the reason I chose to keep that hand is because I had a lot of redundancy on getting into play. Like I had the double wall of roots, so I'm not vulnerable to any kind of a discard spell in that regard. Now, yeah, Nadu can get stripped away by discard, but like that's going to happen anyway. So, kind of my goal with that was like I'm hoping that wall of roots. Like, well, I need to draw the second land for sure, but against like a discard deck, like I want Wall of Roots to come down, be able to get my mana, and importantly too, I like a black-red deck like that's probably going to be targeting me with Blood Moon, so Wall of Roots is really good against Blood Moon. So that's kind of my logic behind keeping that hand, and like I'm expecting that there's going to be a removal spell or a discard spell for Nadu, but then the deck has so much redundancy. Like I'll find a chord, which is what happened, or something like that, and I'll just put another one to play.
Yeah, so many ways to do it. I do need to say thank you to you. You gave me my best pun I've ever done in casting by saying that you had a wall of roots. And like I know you're a fan of puns, so I'm really happy about that as well. But I'm gonna try and move away from the Node deck. There's been so much talk about it, and there still will be for the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the NRG series, right? Okay. Like you've done it all. You've started from the very bottom, of course, and you've gone up to the highest height there is in Magic the Gathering. How important it is these sort of events, being able to turn up to a couple 100-player event with a lot on the line, with all the getting to the RCs, etc. How important is it as a newer player, maybe watching at home, to try and turn up to these events to improve their game and to get to where you've been, my friend?
It's very important actually. I think being able to play consistently at a competitive venture that's at a reasonably high level is like, it's the best like testing ground to level up your game. So these kinds of events are awesome, and like for that reason, like they're really good at making players better by being able to play these constantly, and they're also just good for Magic as a whole by having
Oh yeah.
like
Hmm.
you develop a community around these kinds of events. You start going to these events and you see the same people there every time. All of a sudden you start building a friend group of these people that you see all the time. They're also competitive players that are like-minded. You can start testing together, working together. It really raises all ships. It's a really good bridge between like F&M level play and like Pro Tour level play, to have these kinds of events. And like it would not shock. I mean, I know a lot of the players that play in these tournaments like also qualify for the Pro Tours as well. But it would not shock me at all if there was like a huge amount of people who are grinding this series that like 3 years from now are like top pros. Like just that
Yeah.
would never surprise me if that happened. I would actually expect it to happen.
Yeah, that in itself shows you the importance of this, right? Like, you've done that path, you've stepped it. Everyone is fully aware of how it works. Any more questions, Corbin, before we let BBD shoot off?
I think we're good. I think this is we're looking forward to seeing you play the rest of the day. How are
Oh,
you
yeah.
feeling about your weekend here?
Well, I'm actually hoping to dodge coverage every round because
Nah, that's
I
it. You're
know
locked.
I'm gonna mess up the combos and like it's gonna be really embarrassing. So every time I get featured, I'm like, I hope I'm the backup match.
Is this
Well, we
like
will see how. Well, we may not be able to work with you all the way through
Sure,
today if
yeah.
you keep winning, but we'll see what we can do.
Sweet, bud. Have a good one. I'll let you yourself go get some food, have a little bit of rest before the next round, and we're going to head back to the booth. Man, it's always a gent. I love it. Literally love anything to do with that guy. It's great. Okay. As I mentioned before, we do have a backup feature match, I believe. So we're going to try and get down to that because I know, like, I even made my background blue purposely for you. I was like, oh, it's Merfolk. I need everything to be blue. I see a Nikachu in chat. There's another Merfolker in there. There's so many people wanting to see Merfolk. We're going to get it on camera for you right now. And Jeff Schultz is going to be the hero for all you Merfolkers out there going up against Colorless Combo. That's not the name of the deck. It is definitely 100% a a Boros energy deck. Clearly, trolling us a little bit when they register the deck, but we'll get that changed momentarily because they are on the play. Unless Colorless Combo is now playing Ragavans on turn 1, I very much doubt
it. Not quite, anyway. Not yet. Yeah, shout out, by the way, to Nikachu, who took one of these events down with Merfolk earlier this year.
And you see him on that on the end of year. You see him on the leaderboard. You're going to see him at the end of year invitational as well. Love to see it. I was saying you last time I saw Nikachu in person. Me and him were playing in Las Vegas, and I was getting sunburnt. That's that's like the highlight of my Vegas trip.
Well, that is that's a staple of Vegas trips, I would say. Yeah, I spend most of them trying to hide from the sun and not go outdoors.
Well, we were literally outside. There was tables outside the venue, so we thought, yeah, let's just play some modern outside. Yeah, then I forgot I was English and I was sat in a desert, and yeah, it didn't go too well for me.
A little bit warm. Well, we're looking forward to, Vegas is always this year, though. It's nice to get everyone from around the world together, and that's what the Magic Cons of Vegas tend to be good for. All right, well, we're off to the races here in the game. At least Ted is with Boros Energy here. Jeff with the land tapped, which is a choice Merfolk has to make these days after Modern Horizons 3, and the ability to play Sink into Stupor, which can give you up to 12 counter spells now in the deck.
Yeah, it's not it's one of the slower draws that you want. You'd love it, like an Aether Vial or a 1-drop, especially in the face of a Ragavan on the other side. Because of course Ted is on this Boros energy deck that you have come to know and love. Does a lot of powerful things and does them very early. And one of those powerful things is Osselot's Pride, the little 1/1 cat that has first strike, has life linking, but also makes tokens end a turn if you gain life. And then City's Blessing. Well, then we just start turboing out different things. And something like a Goblin Bombardment just ends the game ASAP as we hit a Merfolk Lord off the top. Quick fire question, Torben, which one is that?
Master of Pearl Trident.
There you go. Cool. See, just make sure you know. Just making sure you know. You say you're Merfolk Master. I have to test these things.
Yeah, I think I don't think, unfortunately, any level of mastery over Merfolk allows you to beat Ragavan into double ramped or Ocelot Pride. This one is looking real rough here for Jeff. Merfolk actually does okay against Nadu. You have a decent amount of interaction, more than you might think out of Merfolk, but counter spells, you have some ways to play. What you don't have a lot of ways to do are catch up when your opponent plays a bunch of 2/1s and 1/1s. That's exactly what is done here. So this puts you way up against the back foot. Although Vidakian Hedgecatcher at the instep at least makes use of the mana.
Yeah, it's as if we did something like two's the prime area for this deck, right? Like there's a lot of 2-drops that in unison make a lot of bigger 2-drops moving forward. But in this situation, you know, it's not great. I do see a couple of lands. Do see a couple of Tide Binders. By the way, if that card gets cast, I'm not going to say anything. Every single time that card gets cast, I get it wrong. Whatever it's targeting, triggering, how the trigger works, resolves. I like every single time I've always got it wrong. It's my bugbear card. But one of my favorite cards right now is Goblin Bombardment, and that is what we see cast.
I can help you with this one. Tistanish Tidebinder can counter the trigger from Goblin Bombardment, however, or Raid Bombardment, whatever it is. However, it cannot prevent it from, it won't turn it off like it does creatures and planeswalkers and all.
It just stops the first shoot effects, but all the rest afterwards.
In other words, it's not going to work.
Thanks that one. Everything gets turned sideways here. This is an attack for 8. Jeff, dressed in blue as well. Love to see it. Blue sleeves.
Yeah, he came prepared.
Blue sleeves, blue deck, blue clothes. And here it comes. Now, no trigger for this to kind of to stop right now because there's none on the stack. So it's just a 4/3 because it does have the +1/+1 from the Lord. It looks like it's going to jump in front of Ocelot's Pride, which is the 1/1 first striker, remember? So we can just let the first strike damage happen and then sacrifice potentially 2 creatures. We could sack 2 creatures and then kill it. We can destroy the Lord if we want to. Lots of options here for Ted. Like Goblin Bombardment is such a nightmare for combat math.
Yeah, I think the only one you might have missed there was Blue Mood because Jeff's feeling pretty sad after that bombardment play.
I was looking at that, I was like, what did I miss? And then I was like, oh, okay. I love it. Let's keep these puns going, ladies and gentlemen.
I like him trying to get into combat there with the Tidebinder. You're not really gonna get anything else out of this, and you may as well you're gonna have to try to get something back in.
We're scooping it up
into play, but yeah,
that's it. That's just like that's like the most ideal start that you can have over on Ted's side. Turn 1, you've got a Ragavan unchecked. Turn 2, you play 2 more threats. Turn 3, bombard. Yeah, it was just so much so quickly. But that's why this deck is so powerful and able to keep up in a Nadu meta. So we can go to the. I think we can go to the sideboards at least. There we go. Starting off on, look, I'm leaving users. You're the Merfolk guy. What am I bringing in? What am I bringing out?
Well, this has become there's a couple of things here that just seem very obvious, right? You want to bring in your dismembers.
Which ones?
Subtleties. Maybe you want the dismembers. That's for sure. These members. These dismembers. These. I use the Phyrexian ones in my Merfolk deck. Ooh. The Phyrexian language dismembers. But you have some options there. But here's the card I actually really want to call attention to is Harbinger of the Tide.
Love it.
2 mana. When it enters battlefield, you can bounce a tapped creature an opponent controls. If you pay an additional 2 mana, you can play Harbinger of the Tides with Flash. So that is a lot to ask 4 mana. But just asking 2 mana to play a Merfolk that'll also bounce one of your opponent's key creatures, say an Ocelot Pride or something like that, that you just really need to slow down and get off the field. The Harbinger of the Tides are, and I'm not sure how important they'll end up being in the match because it can be swingy, but that is a card that's made its way back into Merfolk sideboards after years out of them and can make a huge difference. Obviously, the Stern Scoldings here are also very, very important if you choose to go that route because hitting power or toughness 2 or less on a counter spell hits a lot of the creatures you need to stop early out of the Boros deck. So It is a very tough matchup, I think, for Merfolk, but the sideboard has plenty of options to bring in. You're probably trimming on lords, that sort of thing. Maybe Tide Shapers in this matchup.
How much like respect do you give to Flage in this matchup? Like, are we bringing in Hearst? Because Flage is one of those cards that if you don't have any sort of interaction for it, it will run away with the game. Like, that card is great. Do we have to respect it and bring in the Hearst, or do we
I
think
don't.
we
My
can win
personal
before?
opinion, having not grinded this matchup recently, but like, is that you can't really get away with that because you'll just get run over by the 2/1s if you
Okay.
try to mess around with the hearse too much. It's possible you want one there. Maybe Flage is just so problematic you have to have a specific answer to deal with it. But I think that you'd rather play this game where you try to go around it if you can, um, or Tidebinder the trigger, that kind of thing.
All right, cool. Well, let's see.
Trickster is, of course, the biggest answer in any of these matchups is being able to Merfolk Trickster things away. It answers a lot of problems there. On the other side, Ted just wants to run back that first game, but as you can see, he does have a couple of answers. The Rending Volleys are almost certain to come in, as the Bone Crusher Giant give him a more removal if he wanted another piece of that, although that might be for a different matchup. But those Rending Volleys are certainly going to do work against Merfolk.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I think that's like that. I mentioned before we went down this game. I think this is a great match for Boris Energy. Like, it's just got so much cheap interaction and cheap threats that it can deploy, so it can double spell on most turns. It's really hard for Merfolk to keep up with it. So yeah, just bringing in a couple of extra, slightly better removal spells. We didn't see the Aether Vial, so I don't want any of my enchantment hate to try and slow him down. Just do my game plan. Maybe the Blood Moons get trimmed in this. I don't think this is the best matchup for them, but then Merfolk does play a lot of non-islands to generate blue mana.
Well, it's interesting, the Blood Moon question specifically, because this used to be kind of a thing where you could sometimes get got by it because you did play an amount of non-islands. It also was the consideration of choke, which makes islands not untap, which is a green sideboard card people used to play a lot of. So there's always sort of the island balance. These days, Merfolk plays Harbinger of the Seas for Modern Horizons 3, just tries to turn everything into islands. I generally think it's a trap to try to sideboard against Aether Vial or Mutavault or anything like that against Merfolk, especially when you're sitting on a deck like this. All you really want to do if you're Ted is play like 2 to 3 creatures and 2 to 3 removal spells, and you'll probably have what you need to win the matchup. You don't need to try to get too cute as I'm going to hit their Vial and just kill their creatures.
Do you know how many games I've lost to Harbinger of the Sea? Like, I lose so much to that card because it's kind of tuned in my brain now that, okay, cool, you've Blood Moon me. I can just lightning bolt your creature. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, cool. Let's go back down to the match. Let's kick off game number 2 of round number 3. Ted up a game here, starting off like we did game 1 with that Ragavan.
Yeah, Ragavan can sometimes be really annoying if you don't have an answer to it. But Jeff does, in fact, have an answer to it. It is a Dismember, able to take it down. So, all right, this is a much better start. You followed up with the Tide Shaper on your land.
Island for you on the other side. Like to see it. Is obviously a 1-drop normally, but it's a 2-drop. Love that there's a fact they got a little turtle to put on your land. Can we get Jeff every round in the feature match area, please? Anyone that brings little custom turtles, I'm all about.
That's a Merfolk player right there. Look at that deck. It's beautiful. We got the turtle token.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. But we do have the second land, unfortunately. No greedy one-landers with, I've kept a few one-landers with Ragavan before.
Yeah.
And got punished for it. But Ted does have the second one here.
Well, as you can see, the dice roll, pretty important because this game looks way different than that first game looked. Now Jeff has the creature on board. Jeff's going to untap with the ability to try to, pull ahead. It looks like we're going to stomp down the Tide Shaper.
Yeah, that's the Bone Crusher out of the at the sideboard. Turtle token passed back. Don't want this anymore. I've still got my mana back. Thank you.
Looks like a lot of lands from Jeff, though. So we'll see what he wants to do here. I see a Master of the Pearl Trident, Ottawara, a couple islands.
This is where things get hard for Merfolk, right? Like 2 mana to play a 2/2 against a deck that's got some powerful 1-drops, 2-drops, even 3-drops, and a grip full of them. Didn't have a good look at what Ted's got, but I'm sure we'll find out momentarily. Just like
Awkwardly, this is where you miss a card like Silver Girl Adept, which has been pushed out of the meta by Orcish Bowmasters. But this is the kind of where you want that 2-drop right there to be a Silver Girl Adept to draw you a card and put you on board, and then you're really Merfolk gaming. Instead, as you mentioned, it's a Lord, which is fine, but it is a little underwhelming when it's not joined by friends.
So I think we just got a couple of lands in hand. We do have a
Stern
Scalding for the turn. One turn too late, some would say, but is what it is.
Imagine how good it would have been last turn.
Oh, it'd been
because
great.
he would have gone Dismember into Tide Shaper into Master of the Pearl Trident plus Stern Scolding, and then hopefully another creature or whatever. But as it stands now, he's really on the back foot. Although I haven't caught what that third card is.
I think it might be an Otawara.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so we got Lightning Bolt down. So this is a rough spot for Jeff here.
Just going to get in there for 2, no shenanigans. And this is what's awkward, right? It's like you don't ever want to block the cat token because it'll flip the Ajani. And flipping the Ajani is just not where you want to be. That card is great when it gets flipped, especially if you've got a red permanent, which we do now in the face of Bone Crusher Giant. I guess Ted's probably thinking of maybe Subtlety is the card playing around here. Merfolk tends to play a few copies of that.
Yeah, they do float in and out. Here we got to play. What do we got?
This is the one that you're speaking of. So we're going to bounce the tap creature, which is a token. I don't know how this works. Does it die? Does it flip the Ajani or not? I don't know, Judge. This is exactly what judges are there for, in my opinion. You never be scared to call a judge. They are there to help the play be exactly what it should be. But what might happen here in response is Ted might Galvanic Blast his own token to kill it, to flip the Ajani. Interesting.
It's an interesting development here with that. We mentioned that Harbinger making things play out in a very interesting way. And there you go.
Galvanic's coming.
Yeah, look at that.
Flip the Giant.
Transform Ajani.
Leave it on 3 counters, but we've got this Bone Crusher to block if needs be. So if we could have we've got Otawara. We could bounce the Bone Crusher, but I don't advise that. It's not.
Yeah, this is a big turn. That's at that draw.
That's a great draw.
Trickster off the top means that Jeff can tap down the Bone Crusher if he wants. Won't even take damage from the trigger because it's an ability. Then he'll be able to attack the Ajani. And that's what they're going to figure that out there. And that it only triggers off of spells, not abilities. Ask me how I know. Now we read Ajani and find out that it's going to be pretty painful, though, that your Harbinger of the Tides has 2 power and not 3, and can't actually knock it off the board without a Lord in hand, which Jeff does not have. We know it's just that Otawara. So this is still looking like a pretty decent spot here for Ted.
Yeah, it's a very reactive hand that he's got going on here. It's a lot of, we've got the bounce spell, we've got the counter spell. These creatures aren't lords, which ideally is what we would want in this situation, so we could deal with that Ajani in one hit.
Yeah, like if you can't get rid of Ajani, it's possible. If you accept that, then you say, okay, well, what happens then if I wait until you're and he just goes for face, I guess.
I like it.
Is what happens, wait until the end step there to Trickster. Maybe the Bone Crusher attacks. You get to use your life as a resource. You get a Trickster down 1, then Otawara another 1, and have 2 attackers for Ajani and or the life total. That's the kind of thing I would have been looking at there to try to turn the corner. As it stands now, you main phase the Trickster to get in a couple damage to their face. That's not necessarily getting you anywhere. Now, a second Bone Crusher is always going to be difficult in this situation, but yeah, you're behind the 8 ball for sure right now if you're Jeff, although
we get
still leaning on that Stern Skull.
We get to tick up the Ajani, right? Because we've got the red permanent, means we can do 3 damage because we've got 3 creatures to any source of our choosing. That source being the other creature. So just leaving Jeff with 0. Also, Bone Crusher is the only thing I think that Stone Scorn in the deck doesn't hit. Stone Scorn doesn't hit.
Yeah, kind of just brutal development here for Jeff. You had a tiny window there to try to do something, but obviously this is why Ajani is so powerful. This is what gives the Boros energy deck, ostensibly an aggro deck, so much staying power. Is it
That
just
is.
that Ajani was just 100% the difference in that game?
It's brutal. Also, just cards lined up incredibly awkwardly there. Those Bone Crusher Giants are the only cards it doesn't hit. It also Bone Crusher is a removal spell because you're playing a lot of 2-mana 2/2s. So this lines up perfectly for me. It adds as another body. It's a 4/3, so it's going to reduce your life really quickly. It's the red source I need for the Ajani to tick up to do the extra damage. It just, it felt like a house of cards literally there for Jeff. I did tell you this deck, when I played it at the weekend, it didn't even feel close. I felt like I just really ran over my opponent when I was on the borrow side, and we just saw it again there. So unfortunately, Jeff is going to drop to a 2-1 record, but Ted advances to 3-0. That's exactly how you want to start your day when you've got 8 rounds of modern action to battle it out in. And then you got the top 8 as well, because you want to take this down. You want to get that invite. You want to be at that invitation at the end of the year, playing against the best players for $35,000. But you've got to get away through some of the best players we've got in the room, like BBD in the room. We just see him win. Right. We've got Dom in the room. We've got Ali's not doing too well, actually. Ali's not going doing too well on that old Tron deck, but there's still some amazing players happening in the room because this is a 2-day event. Today is modern. Tomorrow is team trios. Okay, I said modern's my favorite event to coverage. My favorite one to play in is team trios. I love a team event. Yeah. Like, win or lose, I'm having the best time. I'm either watching my friends crash and burn and giving them stick for it, or they're watching me crash and burn and they're giving me stick for it. It's a load of bounce, but at the end of the day, you get to go out at the end of it and have a nice little Nando's. And of course, we've already spoke about our team. It's me, you. It's going to be Doom. That's Doom's right. I'm going to be on standard. You're going to be modern. I'm going to be legacy. Easy. That's next year, 2025 preview.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be the dream team turn up because that's who we've got giving you coverage all weekend long, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be stepping out in the next round or two, and we're going to get Doom in here. He's going to close the show, and then I'm going to open the show tomorrow with Doom, and then we're going to pass it across to you, Corbin. So it's a great. This is my favorite trifecta of casters all going at it. It's going to be sick to see.
I'm looking forward to it, man. We're having a great weekend so far. We've seen world champions on camera. We saw some birds, but some other cool stuff.
Yeah,
we're off and running.
Maybe too many birds for my liking, but it is what it is. You need to put that message back on the screen. I did not manage to read what that said. No, I apologize. Okay, right, sweet. So that's going to be the end of round number 3. We're going to have a short break. We'll be back for round number 4. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you shortly.